Thanks for watching this micro drawing of Kelvin and Hobbes on a log. What I showed you just there was the Copic Multiliner 0.03 black pen that I use, and the nickel and Q-tip for reference. Here I'm starting to lay in Hobbes's face first. Started with his nose. I like to start with the facial features first, and then if I need to, I just scrap a 3x5 note card and start over again. On this one, I actually got it right, or close enough to right the first time, so I didn't have to throw it away. So I'm going to work from his head down, and right now I'm just adding that white fluffy stuff, I guess, around his cheeks and chin. And then I'll start working on his arm here coming out. And I'm working down his chest a little bit there. I'm going kind of lightly with the 0.03 Copic Multiliner. That way if I do mess up a little bit, at least I can make a correction and it doesn't look too bad. So again, they're just kind of lightly sketching it in. Adding his back a little bit. And the white of his belly. And there's his final outline of his back. Coming down, starting to draw his short legs. And his paws and the pads on his paws. And there's his other leg. And then I'm going back up to his hand, adding the stripes on his arm. Actually getting pretty close to having Hobbes finished here. I'm adding a little bit of the tail and the black tip of that, and then the stripes around his tail. There I'm starting to draw in the grass and the log itself. And I moved the paper a little bit here so I could center Kelvin on there. The nickel is for reference. Just trying to keep things in perspective for you, along with the Q-tip. There I'm back to drawing the stripes onto Kelvin's back. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. That'll provide you notifications with future drawings. And now I'm starting to get Kelvin on there. There's his, famous hairline with the peaks and the spikes going up there. And there's his ear going in. Drawing his nose and his eyes. And his smile. Chin line there. Starting to add the shirt of him. And his hands, his arms are pretty short, so not a lot to add there. He's got his arms stretched out just like Hobbes does for balance, so I'm making sure I'm getting those in there. And he's got his red striped shirt. I'll come back and color them later with the Copic Sketch markers. I've shared before in other videos, those markers have two ends to them. One's more of a broad chisel tip. The other is more of a fine point. It's flexible too, almost like a paintbrush. There I'm putting the log in, and there's the grass on this end of the suspended log. Just adding a little detail to the log. So pretty close to done. There's a nickel again for reference, and the Q-tip. When it's zoomed in, it's hard to get that scale. And there I put the date on and my initials. And now when there's some pauses here in between the colors, it usually means that I'm searching for the right color out of my collection. There's the Copic Sketch marker, just to show you the yellow that I'm using. I didn't show the broad chisel point tip, but maybe in another video I will. So anyways, just touched a little bit there. I really have to go very light with the touching there, because the ink will actually bleed into the paper some. and I don't blend the colors much. One of the nice things about Copic Sketch markers is you can, because they're alcohol based. Now there I got a little extra orange onto Hobbes's tummy. So I'm using, it's a colorless blender, and actually what it can do is act as an eraser for me. So there you can see I flipped it upside down so I could get the point in there, and I kind of dissolved or spread out the pigment there enough that it looks like it erased it. Q-tip for reference while I'm finding the next color. I was mentioning that I don't blend colors a lot. I end up blending the colors a little bit on the log here to give more of a 3D look to it. There's the red for Kelvin's t-shirt. And I'm still waiting for my flesh-colored markers to come in. Until that happens, I will just use the one flesh color that I have. And that's what I'm adding on to Kelvin right now. I rotate the paper so that I can work the fine tip up to the black line. If I go lightly enough with it, I can work just right up to that line so it doesn't bleed over the line that I drew earlier. And there's a little red. I don't know if it was a sock, I think. And again, searching for a color. There's my green. Just a simple lime green to add to anchor the ends of the log. Then for the log, I end up using some different grays. I think 4 or 5 different colored grays. I think I've got, I bet 12 different grade shades. So there, I'm just putting a light shade on there, and I'll work darker towards the bottom of it. Again, just trying to give a little 3D to it. And, you know, this is the point that I mentioned earlier, that it actually blends together a little bit with the Copics. Just layer over layer to give it a little more 3D effect. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching the video. And if you'd subscribe, you'll get updates for future ones. And I'd appreciate that. And please share as well. There's a nickel to show it, and just my finger on it to show how little it is. That was my pointer finger totally covering it.